forward to that matchup and excited to see him and some friendly faces there. As concerning yesterday, everyone saw the ruling that came out of the U.S. District Court. Really happy for Ray and the courage that it took for him to pursue his eligibility status and stand up there on as and testify. So you heard me say all along that Ray should be playing basketball, and I truly believe that that's very important to him and his mental health. And I think he's met that criteria for immediate eligibility. And like the statement we put out yesterday said, we're consulting with our counsel and outside counsel before we make any determination on the eligibility status of our, student athletes that are affected as part of this decision. So we're trying to get some of those questions answered, but unfortunately, I don't have much to add outside of what we put out as a statement. And I know I saw last night that several schools played their affected student athletes, and some had sat them out. So we're still in limbo, and I think there's a lot of schools out there still in limbo trying to figure out what those answers or get those questions they have answered. So fortunately, we don't play till Saturday evening, and we're hoping to get those answers sooner than later.
We'll take questions. We'll first go to Greg Hunter.
So Josh, sort of double down on that a little bit. So your thought right now about playing RaeQuan on Saturday, and then obviously Noah is also impacted on this. Do you think that he plays this year for you guys?
I don't know. It's just needs some more clarity more than anything, because we got to, selfishly we can sit here and think, they could really, both of them could really help us, but we got to think about the student athlete and how it affects their overall eligibility. RaeQuan's got 1 year of eligibility left. Noah's got 2. And so those conversations will have to be had with those student athletes, their families, and our department to figure out what's best for them and as us as a whole as a program.
Kevin Kinder.
Josh, I understand you don't want to talk specifics on each one of their cases, but in general, are the things that you're still seeking clarity on, are they other eligibility issues? Are they just how this impacts or how it could work going forward? Obviously, you just mentioned what the student athletes' wishes are, and that's important too, but what are a couple of the other areas where you're still seeking clarity?
It's mainly the eligibility. I mean, if we, even in the 14 days, we play 3 games. If, the decision is overturned and they played during this course of the season and they lose that year of eligibility, that doesn't seem like we made the right decision by the student athlete. And so I want all the facts to be laid out for everybody involved before we make those decisions. I think that's just the right way to handle things and approach things.
Justin Jackson.
Coach, well, 2 things. As part of the ruling yesterday, I mean, obviously the 14 days on the restraining order. The second part was of the I forget the name of it, where they also put a restraining order on the NCAA's ability to basically punish schools to that would play athletes during these 14 days. Doesn't that sort of kind of cover some of the issues that you guys might be looking at?
Yeah, and I don't think we've got 100% clarity on that as well, but indications are and reports are that yes, the institutions are protected during the 14-day window. But the biggest question to me is the eligibility concerns and whether that would burn a year by playing in that 14-day window.
I see. Okay. And the other thing is, I'm sure you got a chance to talk with RaeQuan yesterday. I mean, obviously an emotional day for him yesterday. Can you share like what his reactions were, his emotions were? And, it's a huge day for him yesterday.
It was a huge day and a huge day. He's the face of this entire process. And, I'm really proud of him. I told him that for certain, and, how he's approached this and he's done this with so much class and integrity. So, that was the biggest message to him. It took a lot out of him. it certainly took a lot out of him, you know, in his mental state, you know, having that courage to go up there and testify and put himself out there. It took a lot out of him. So I think the nerves kind of got to him, and he didn't feel all that well and spent most of the rest of the evening resting. So I'm hearing he's feeling a lot better this morning. I look forward to catching up with him, and we got practice this afternoon. So I think he'll be in the weight room here shortly, working out. So I look forward to getting down there and seeing him, giving him a big hug.
Hey, one last thing, Coach. You know, kind of like you said, he's kind of become the face of this issue, which has suddenly become a national issue now. I mean, this is bigger than just obviously WVU in terms of the scope of the schools and what it could mean down the line with what the NCAA does with the transfer rules and eligibility rules. Do you think he's comfortable being the face of something that's completely bigger than just his eligibility issue now?
I don't think he wanted to be by any means. I mean, this isn't the route he chose. I was very forthright and through the whole process saying, you know, I thought this was a, you know, open and shut case. I thought it'd be a rubber stamp issue from the NCAA with the specifics of this particular case. By no means I didn't think RaeQuan wanted to push this thing this far, but he's fighting for what he believes is right. And you know, I'm here to support him in any way he can. Does he want to be? Does he want that attention? I don't think he does by any means. But you know, I'm just, you know, really proud of him for taking it this far and doing what he thinks is right and fighting for, you know, his rights, you know, in the court of law, and then also being that person that then can, you know, be that face that represents so many other kids who are in the same boat.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Great, Hunter.
Josh, obviously Kerr comes back Saturday as well. You may have RaeQuan and Noah. So how are you guys different as a team? What style is different? And will it take a little while to sort of get everybody to meld together?
You know, they've been practicing together. It's not like they've been sitting out. So they practice and compete against each other each and every day. And I switch up those rosters whenever I can to make it as competitive as possible. So it's not like they've been sitting out and haven't been able to practice. So I don't see that as a huge issue. You know, from every indication of encounter I've had with all the rest of the guys, I mean, they're ultra excited. I mean, those guys are really close. It's a close, you know, close-knit locker room. So everybody cheers each other on and wants to be a part of a winning program. And they know having depth and having our weapons, you know, at our disposal is certainly going to help us do that. So I don't see any issue trying to get everybody on the same page and you know, clicking on all cylinders. Now, you know, in terms of getting that game day rust, I mean, it could be an issue because I mean, it's you know, they've missed 9 games. So, you know, Kerr got a chance to play a couple, you know, with our close scrimmage and George Mason, but Noah and Ray, if they're eligible to play, they haven't got that game time experience for quite some time. So that would be the only issue that I see. But those guys, like I said, they compete each and every day in practice, and they've been ultra competitive and ultra locked in every single day. It's not like they're going through the motions by any means. So I'm excited for their opportunity if that presents itself.
So if all 3 of those guys are playing, how different is your style from what we've seen in the first 9?
Yeah, I think it's a lot faster. I mean, we were really, you know, we had to, by default, had to really slow everything down to be competitive and with our lack of depth. So, you know, we're still transitioning a Cook back. So that gives us depth that, you know, in the forward position. And if we had Noah and Ray with depth to guards, I mean, we could, we're going to have a lot fresher legs out there. So I anticipate playing a lot faster than we have in this first 9 games. So, and certainly it's a lot easier as a coaching staff to hold guys accountable to what they need to be doing out there if you got people to replace them.
Mike Casaza.
Hey Josh, how are you?
Good. How are you, Mike?
Good, man. Just kind of a strange question, but what are you just looking forward to practice today? This seems like a unique day in your tenure. It's actually good news. It's been the opposite for a while, and I think I actually see a smile on your face right now too, which has been
Yeah, I mean,
pretty
I
good out of
woke
you.
up, I didn't sleep all that good, and mainly because, you know, you just sit there and think through all the scenarios and try to manage them all from a coaching perspective, and it's a good problem to have. So, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic, but it does give you rebirth or relife, so to speak. And you know, when you sit down in a coach's meeting and you start thinking about the different scenarios and options you have, it certainly puts a smile on everybody's face in the room. And so it gives us some new life, and we're excited about the possibility. Now, like I said, cautiously optimistic, but we hope we're going in the right direction, and we have closer to what we consider a full roster.
And then just to kind of put you on the spot, if you don't mind, you're in this position now where you can take transfers and you never know if they're going to play or not. But if you had a say in the matter, if you could write the rule book, how would you handle transfers legislatively?
I personally, I mean, I think they, you know, just like any coach can leave at any given time. I mean, I think it's to their discretion if they want to leave a program. I believe they have the right to do so. And you know, I've said over the years, if kids don't want to be here, you know, it's hard to coach them. So if they're not happy with where they're at, what's the point in trying to force the issue?
But
John
then once
Lowe.
they join your team,
I'm sorry, Mike.
Go ahead.
no, just once they join your team, the whole eligibility matter, that's quite a bird's nest, I understand. But the year in residence has maybe competitively good things, but it can also ensnare people for the wrong reasons, as you found out. Any idea like how you would handle that?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Just like how, should guys be eligible to move freely? Should they have to sit out of there? Should there be parameters? Should it be, you know, what's the word, wanton and capricious, as that's been alleged?
Well, I don't think by any means you should be able to play for two teams in any one given year. But from year to year, I don't see any problem, like personally, with the way guys could have the freedom to pick up and go if they weren't happy, and vice versa. I mean, it's obviously from a coaching perspective, and we have, there's no ramifications for us picking up and going. So I don't know why we would hold those players to that a different standard.
John Lowe.
I guess that's me. Curious, Josh, what do you see from UMass? What challenges do they present?
Well, I mean, it's the one crippling one that always stands out. They're really good at offensive rebounding. They're top 10 in the country, and excuse me, and second chance points. So we've worked diligently, in which we have all season, which doesn't seem to be setting in. So we need to maybe take a different approach than we kind of have this week. But we got to shore up our defensive rebounding. They're good. You know, they're also top 10 in the country in points off turnovers. So they're going to turn up the heat. And I understand Frank and his approach to a lot of things in terms of defensive end. So they are going to get up in you and try to force the issue and make you uncomfortable and take things away that might try to blow up your offense. So we're very mindful of all those things and how he'll probably approach, you know, what we have, you know, what we bring to the table offensively. So yeah, this should be a battle. I mean, you know, consequently they turn people over and score off people's turnovers, but they also send people to the line. And I think their opponents average 26 free throw attempts a game. And so we've done a pretty good job of getting the line outside of that Drexel game. That was kind of an anomaly, so to speak. So, but otherwise, you know, they're sending teams to the line with how aggressive they play defensively. So they're scoring off turnovers, but they're also sending people into the line. So it's a double-edged sword.
Real quick, a player or two that really concerns you for them.
Matt Cross, they're 4-man. They're 4 and 5. They're both, you know, veteran guys. They're 2 seniors on their roster. So Josh Cohen, their 5-man is one of their key players. Matt Cross is another one. That's a matchup issue for us. He doesn't shoot it extremely well, but he's big, physical, 6'7", 230, and plays a lot lower than a lot of kids, and he can play a little bully ball and get what he needs done. So yeah, he's averaging 16 points a game, 58% from the field and 7.6 rebounds. So that forward position's been kind of an issue for us, trying to figure out the right personnel to handle those type of guys. So that's the issue that I see with Matt Cross.
Ryan Decker.
Coach, do you worry about guys like Kerr and possibly RaeQuan and or Noah who are coming back? Do you worry about them maybe pressing a little bit, especially on the offensive end, just trying to make up for lost time as they get back into things?
It's certainly a conversation I'll have with all those guys. Don't try to act like or feel that pressure to do anything more than the team needs you to do. So, yeah, I mean, once you get checked in for the first time or that ball tips up for the first time, and it's been a long time since those guys have seen action. I'm sure the emotions will probably set in pretty strong. So I'll try to have our coaching staff does a great job trying to keep everybody level headed. We'll have those conversations with those guys and just kind of tell them to let the game come to them. So hopefully we have a smooth transition. It would be in the event that it happens, it would be something you don't see every day, trying to transition 3 guys into a rotation all at once.
Bob Herzl.
Yeah, Josh. You mentioned that RaeQuan was the face of this, and that it kind of got to him yesterday after testifying. You've been the face of the university on this pretty much, and this wasn't what your first chance to coach in this. I mean, it wasn't exactly what you were looking forward to, or probably expected in any way, shape, or form. How has it affected you? I mean, you mentioned not sleeping last night, trying to think things up. Has it personally affected you?
Well, I mean, yeah, I can't lie. I mean, there's a lot of challenges that I've went through that has it affected me? Probably a little. But I go home to a wife that's got a great head on her shoulders and puts things in perspective. So I got that going for me. And I look at a lot of these things as a huge growth opportunity for myself as well. So many people say, coaches can go a decade and not go through the type of challenges you went through in an amount of 6 months. So I don't look at it that way. I just look at it as, I got to take care of business in the best way possible and represent this university the best way possible and my family the best way possible each and every day. And, I've been tabbed with this challenge and this opportunity. And what I need to do is just make as good of decisions each and every day that puts us in a position to be successful.
You've kind of, I assume, thought you knew what coach-player relationships were like, and that coming in. But has that grown with you, the realization that how important you are to coach, especially when you hear RaeQuan talk about how much he relied on Sprinkle before and what you've had to do with him and for him?
Yeah, it's definitely taken it to a new level. I mean, it's one thing to be an assistant coach and have those relationships, or support staff and have those relationships, but the relationship goes to a whole new level, especially when you're fighting tooth and nail for a kid that 100% deserves to have the opportunity to express himself on the floor and the name of competition. So we've come together, and it was a very natural relationship from day one. If we're speaking about RaeQuan specifically, and that's not just RaeQuan. I mean, I've built great relationships with each and every one of these guys on our roster. So, but RaeQuan's situation is different and unique, and from day one we kind of hit it off, and we had that we had our ties and our history and how we kind of had to navigate some of those issues. So, it's you look at so many of these kids and you care so deeply about them and just want them to have the opportunity to be successful in life. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like your own kids. You just sit back and smile when everything works out well, and you just soak it in. And that was kind of the day we had yesterday. You listen to his testimony, and he puts himself out there and does everything he can. And we as an institution, as a coaching staff, have fought tooth and nail to make things right by RaeQuan. So days like that are rewarding, and you look back and you just smile and hope things work out even further in his way, because he is an outstanding human being. It's a pleasure to coach each and every day, and those are the guys that you're happy to do so, and stand side by side with.
John Lowe. John, we're unable to hear you. Let's go to Greg Gary.
Yeah, Josh, just curious, how from Wednesday to Friday, how close do you monitor what some of these other schools are doing with their transfers? I believe UNLV played one last night, and how does that impact in the decision leading into Saturday?
Well, every situation's different. I mean, the UNLV might, have had that conversation and understood the risks and associated with that conversation, and they chose to do so. So I'm not going to make a rash decision that will affect a kid's future by any means without knowing all the facts and details. So there has been a lot of phone calls and late night calls with coaches that understand that we're at the forefront of this battle with RaeQuan. So they've called and asked our advice, and that's, we're all kind of in the same boat. We don't really have answers. So they want to know what we are going to do, but from an institutional standpoint and from a coaching staff standpoint, we're going to do right by understand the facts of the situation before we make any crazy decisions.
Back to Justin.
Hey, Coach, I'm assuming you were up in Wheeling yesterday?
I was not.
Okay. Well, this might be kind of an unfair question then. Did you find during RaeQuan's testimony, did you find it odd at all that very few of the questions that were asked of him were about mental health? It seemed to be more about NIL driven, the questions asked to him by the NCAA lawyers?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they're going with all this. It did seem to stray a little bit from his file and the reason why he should or should not be eligible. But, I don't know if that's a great representation of what the NCAA and what their thought process is. So I'm going to take all that with a grain of salt. And, I thought Ray did a great job handling himself up there and composed himself well. And that ain't easy for anyone, let alone a 20-year-old, So, just like I said, I was proud of him for fighting for his rights, and that's where we're at.
I asked the second question kind of jokingly, but isn't the depth on your scout team, hasn't it just been destroyed?
Basically, we got 2 rotations. So, as a coach, you kind of want 2 of everything. You can just every time you guard their stuff, you got to flip offense to defense, and you got 2 scout teams. So that's kind of the way it's supposed to work. But we're getting closer to that point as we speak.
And then one last thing, Kerr, what's he been like this week? I mean, obviously, I know it's finals week. So, I mean, has this been kind of with that in mind, has it been kind of a rough week for him to, transition into, becoming a player now?
I don't see that. I mean, I think he's turned it up a notch. He understands that it's coming, and not that he didn't compete each and every day, but you can see it in his eyes that he's going to be able to compete under the lights now. So he's excited, and he's excited to run the show, and it's what we brought him in here to do. So I think everybody's just holding their breath, waiting to get this Saturday so we can throw that ball in the air and get everybody out there competing.
Is it fair to say that the Kerr that you have out there on Saturday is the Kerr you want, or the Kerr that you anticipated to always?
Well, I don't know what his game legs are going to be like.
Okay, right.
It's just it's different than a Cook. A Cook had to sit out a number of weeks, and we had to kind of transition him back. So Kerr's practice each and every day, but he has missed those game reps, which game reps and practice reps, especially when you're playing every second or third day, can be a lot different. But he's got he's done all that extra work, working on his game and makes up all that mileage that he misses in the games by, working with our strength and conditioning coach each and every day to shore all that up. So I don't anticipate him having too much of a problem transitioning.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
If there are no further questions, we will end with Mike Casazza.
Josh, I just want to make sure I have all this straight. Have you asked the NCAA for like concrete, black and white, what happens if, or are you just waiting for them to give you an edict? Like, how does this go right now? I understand like what you want to hear, but like, have you asked them? Are you just waiting on them, or is even that?
I think there's a lot of schools that have asked that exact question. So I don't want to say I anticipate today, but I think it'd be shameful if we didn't hear by today or tomorrow some exact clarification, because there are a lot of people that are affected as part of this rule.
All right, thanks.
Thanks everyone for calling in. Appreciate it.